I would like to welcome the brilliant Jess Dunderdale on stage with her speakers, Jamie Finnie, Head of Travel at NES, and Jenny Thornton, Director of Digital Services for the Great Consolidation panel discussion. Welcome.
Thank you. Should I get Joy? Just remove the tissues from the stage. Oh, well, I just realised we're kind of in that sleepy mid-afternoon session. I think if we distributed pillows with this weather, then everyone may have a little nap. But that's fine. That's why they brought us here, because we're going to liven it up sort of mid-afternoon. So maybe we'll start with some brief intros then. Jamie, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jamie Finnie, Head of Travel for NES Fircroft. NES are a workforce solution provider. We work with companies, traditionally oil and gas companies, but power and renewable companies these days, life science companies, and we provide the workforce when they've got sort of projects and so on. So a lot of my travel program is made up with contractors working on those projects and managing them. In a previous life, I was an ops manager at CWT for about 10 years as well, looking after BAE Systems, MTV, clients like that up in our Preston office. So I'm from the north. I did not bring this weather with me, I will say that now. When I left in shorts and t-shirt on Monday, it was glorious weather up in the north.
Yeah, it's the people who have flown in, really, who we should be blaming for not bringing the sun with them. This is really terrible. Sorry, Jenny.
It's really terrible. Is this on? Yeah. So hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Thornton, Director. I'm actually Director of Tech Solutions because my title has changed recently, formerly Director of Digital Services, but for ATPI, so we're a global travel management company. On Friday, it's a very special day for me because I actually celebrate my 25th work anniversary with the company. So I've been around a long, long time. Started on the operational side of the business as a trainee consultant. Stuck around a long time there because it's a great company to work for. I never thought that 25 years later I'd be sitting here in charge of technology for a global travel management company. But my role essentially is looking after all tech that is client-facing. So that is from a product management perspective. So I have a team of product managers that look after all sorts of different suites of products. I also look after the support teams, the teams that implement the technology, train the customers. But a part of my role that's sometimes a bit different to other TMCs is I'm actually part of the global commercial team. So what that means is I'm out there all the time hearing from customers, which then drives the product development that we do internally. We're actually hearing it from a commercial side rather than things just being developed from a technical side. So that's me. And Jamie is one of our customers. He forgot to mention that, but one of my favourite customers.
I used to be your favourite. What happened?
You kept cancelling.
I think this is where Mum needs to step in and split that out. Yeah. Jenny, I didn't realise you could start working when you were only 2 for a company. That's incredible.
I love you.
Yeah.
I love you for that. Do you know, someone said to me on my team the other day, wow, Jenny, you've worked here longer than I've been alive.
Oh, my God. Did you then just say, you're fired?
I was like,
thank you both. And so for anyone who I've not met, I am Jess Dunderdale. I'm the Senior Director of Client Partnerships at AltoVita. I've been with AltoVita for about 2.5 years now. My career really kicked off within the relocation space. I myself as well relocated every 8 months for a period of 13 years, so very well versed with the world of relocation, and then then transitioned over to the corporate housing space, and this is where I've been now for nearly a decade, and very happily at AltoVita. So today we are going to discuss a very crucial topic within the business travel and relocation industry, specifically the consolidation of technology and effective collaboration with providers. So obviously we've covered quite a lot around global mobility. We are very happy to have Jenny with us, who's representing obviously ATPI, who are really leading as well this technology space within the TMC world. And so we're going to explore together the benefits of technology consolidation, discuss some of the best practices with working with providers, and addressing the challenges that anyone may face. obviously both of you being not only travel manager and also the leading TMC together collaboratively and also independently, you have a lot of responsibility for the seamless experiences and effective movement of your of travellers, employees. So Jamie, in what ways has technology and the consolidation impacted on your ability to deliver that better travel experience for your travellers?
I think quite a lot. It's an interesting question because we have had a consolidated travel program globally since 2016. We consolidated under one provider, and then RFP'd during the pandemic in 2020. And one of the main reasons for the pandemic, and Jenny will remember because she was in the room, and I said to her, "You better not leave me behind on tech." Because that's where I'd been for the last 3 years, was we were put on a system with our old company, kind of just left behind, to be honest with you, on the same system. So the ever-evolving technological platform has really helped us. And the other side of things as well is that we have 2 very opposing travel programs within our one travel program. The contractor travel program is managed by a team of regional travel managers and travel agents or travel coordinators, as they're called within our business, who literally provide a hands-on service to the contractor when they're going on mobilization or on rotation for whatever they're doing on whatever project they're working on. And then we have sort of your Joe Bloggs standard traveller or staff member who would be using the online booking tools and the ATPI hub and so on. And one of the things that we did with the ATPI hub was Jenny and I had a conversation at the start, didn't we? And it was, you were very much of the opinion, and rightly so, which is it's all very well and good having one solution globally that looks the same, but actually it's better to have best in market. So we ATPI adapted the hub for us to be able to kind of say, well, in this market you want that booking tool, in that market you want that booking tool, but generally speaking, the look and feel of where the landing page is all the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then also from there, we've gone on. I think the other thing to call out as well is our internal sort of IT program. We've moved completely away from Google now. We're on Microsoft, and everything is done. Every time we go in anywhere, we log into on the internet, we log into Microsoft apps. So if you want to request a IT service, or you want to get a bit of marketing done, or you want to book your holiday, it's all done from Microsoft apps. We've developed sort of this travel hub app within our app universe, which basically single signs on straight through to ATPI. So obviously from a person booking travel for a contractor perspective, that's fantastic, but also from a staff member perspective as well, it's really good because everything essentially looks the same as it would if it was another function, you know?
Yeah, perfect. I'm going to just turn it over to the audience and just with the show of hands, has anyone, raise your hand if you have experienced a significant positive impact in the day-to-day operations through the adoption of technology within either your business travel or your global mobility program? Not many. Not loads. Anyone wants to give an example? Not to put you on the spot. That's no. Because there wasn't many.
We were hoping for an example.
Okay, well, that's fine. We'll muster another question now. So Jenny, what challenges have you faced from the ATPI's perspective when consolidating technology systems into ATPI, and how have you overcome those?
Okay, so there's probably 3 things to mention here, and I'll save the best till last. But the first one is whenever you're doing any sort of tech consolidation, a lot of it's focused around integration. So whenever you're integrating, it generally means that you're making something a bit more effective, which normally involves manual process. So there's always change management that comes with any tech integration. That could be people change management that can be challenging sometimes because people sometimes feel like things are being done, with what's going on with AI, especially these days, it's to replace us, where actually it's just to create efficiencies. But also whenever you're doing any sort of integration project, and we've fallen foul of this a few times with customers, is you have to engage your IT and data security departments early on in the process. I've seen projects sometimes stall for up to 6 months because IT haven't been brought into that process early enough, and then there's a whole due diligence that needs to be done around it. But personally, from a TMC perspective, and Sam and Vivi, this actually came up in your session, so you've teed me up nicely for this one. What I had to overcome as part of my role is our complete and utter obsession with the GDS in the TMC world. So I really started banging this drum back in 2016. So I think this is what's setting ATPI apart at the moment, is the fact that we are not reliant on a GDS P&R to do things.
Yay.
I knew you'd like that,
definitely
Vivi.
deserves an applause.
And we've been, to be honest, we've been doing it a long time. And I think for any of the, the buyers in the room, the most of your TMCs will be doing something to raise invoices for certain P&Rs where there is not a GDS booking. If we take things like UK Rail as an example, you don't create a P&R for a UK Rail booking. You can invoice that from a handoff file. That can feed into tracking solutions. We can hand it off to third parties like International SOS, who are also our customer, by the way. We look after them globally. But also, there's lots of other providers. One of the big ones being around virtual payment. Yes, P&Rs get created when you create hotel bookings, but we don't raise invoices from a P&R. So because of some of the technology that Jamie's mentioned and our open API approach that we have really with our hub, I'm very fortunate that because I was a complete and utter nag and going on and on and on about it, that the company allowed us to start looking at providers who don't necessarily create GDS P&Rs. So that, and with what's going on, fragmentation of content, I'm not going to mention the 3 letters that is one of my other favourite talking points, but when the airlines started doing this, we've been able to support technology where it doesn't create GDS P&R since 2016, when the airlines started to remove some of their content from the GDS.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, we have we have a lot of non-GDS content that we book because we like to book some weird and wonderful places. Campsites in Oman spring to mind. Those are some of the things we book. But our invoicing accuracy, and invoicing for us is so important as well, because we have like 85% of everything we do is billed out to the end client, and our invoicing accuracy with ATPI is 97%. So it is true. I mean, that's the whole point of sort of why a TMC, in my opinion, wants to use a GDS. It makes it easier for every other back office system that they've got, and invoicing and so on. But, given the challenges that Jenny's mentioned, it's, like I say, 97% invoicing accuracy.
Just for the GM, Global Mobility professionals in the room, not to be condescending in any way, but just so that everyone's aware of what we're talking about with the GDS, it's the global distribution system, and this is the system that was designed in the 1960s.
Very archaic. Yes.
Very archaic. I think you need a separate degree just to know how to use it, because you have to be reliant on codes and things like that, lacking in content. But to Jenny's point, within the business travel space, there's a huge reliance on the GDS. And typically the question that we bring when we say, look, we can bring greater content, we can bring better content, better quality of information, we can bring dynamic rates, everything that the GDS can, but in a much more enhanced, much more improved way. It's like, yeah, but can you do it via the GDS? And so this is a question that just drives us crazy.
It's funny, what Jess is talking about with the 3 letters that she won't mention, Jen's talking about the 3 letters she won't mention is NDC, which is this, again, if everybody knows this, I'm sorry, but it's this methodology that airlines have of putting their lowest fares only available on websites and not through the GDS where you would traditionally find them. And to give you a little story, I was in Geneva in 2018, and IATA convention, and they were talking at that point about it's all about the GDS. The GDS has to come around to this NDC content.
Yeah.
But if you fast forward to 2024, I think the thinking nowadays is that, and I think Katie said this, Jen, as well, remind me if I'm wrong, but TMCs need to adapt. They need to be more of consolidators now than actual sort of just relying on a GDS. So it's not going away. Increase on service department providers, NDC, all of these things are not going away, and they're not, the GDS are not moving towards NDC, for example, and airlines are not moving towards the GDS with the lowest fares. Nothing's moving. They're going to have to change. It's as simple as that.
That's what I like to hear. I didn't even pay them to say that. So I'm going to bring this back up. This is what Vivi and Sam have just covered in terms of Sam's vision and how we supported in executing that. So obviously Sam had that very clear vision. She had an understanding of exactly what she wanted in terms of how to manage the end-to-end accommodation program. But from your perspectives, what's the best practice for integrating preferred supplier into the travel program? So specifically, what strategies and what have you found most effective for successfully incorporating preferred suppliers?
Is that me?
Both.
Or mine?
Both.
Or is that both? Okay. I'll go first. Unless you want to go ladies first. I'm sorry. No, I'll go first. Okay. I think I've heard it quite a lot actually in this room today. Somebody said, I can't remember who it was, I'm terribly sorry, but someone said start with the customer and work backwards, or some words to that effect. I think that's very, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you put yourself in a customer perspective as a traveller, I think the one biggest moan that I hear from my travellers is having to open many different apps and go to many different places. They just want it simple. They just want it nice and simple, all in one place, and everything done for them as quickly as possible. So I think that's the key thing as well. And I think and Jenny's touched on it as well, engage in IT as early as possible, because again, to that point, you don't want to be jumping around even within your business about having many different apps and going to many different places as well. So I think engage in your IT and as early as possible would be the other thing.
Yeah, you're right. And I think some, we deal with all sorts of different customers, and some are very like Sam. They've got a vision, they know what they want. Others need to be guided. And Jamie's right. I'm all about user experience. That's what my role is. I see lots of tech. You can imagine I get hounded by people wanting to demo their products to me. And it takes a lot to get my attention in the first place or to impress me. And this is my first time at one of these events, by the way, so thank you for having me. But what I've loved today is the engagement and I love a live demo. So seeing the sessions that we have today, but most importantly, seeing the interaction with the people in the audience where you really want to take on that, the feedback and take it on board is just so, it's refreshing to see. So, when it comes to preferred suppliers, as well as, firstly, I guess how we approach it at ATPI, first I look at what they've got to offer, because I could see it within 5 minutes, just know it's, either not up to scratch or not something that we're looking for, or we've already got something that does something very similar. But again, we then have a full due diligence process. We do have an open API platform. If a customer comes to me with a supplier that they're working with that we've not necessarily worked with before, we don't just say, yeah, okay, I'll put it into our travel hub. There is a whole process that needs to be followed, standards that the provider has to ensure they comply with. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what our approach would be to that ATPI.
And from our side, we've definitely seen varied cases. So we've seen circumstances where corporates have told their RMC or TMC, you have to work with AltoVita, and then there's potentially not those steps that you've discussed, Jenny. Equally, it is something that corporates have then completely managed from their side, all of the due diligence, all of the procurement process, and then as well managing in-house. So we've seen very, very different, diverse approaches. From your perspective, Jamie, when we were discussing, you were saying that, in the event that you identify a supplier, you would bring them to ATPI. And so how does that partnership work between the two, ATPI and NES Fircroft, to identify the suppliers and then bring them into your program?
It's a good question at the minute, because if I'm being really honest, our sort of mobility program is largely unmanaged at the minute. Yeah. And it is there. Like, it's not that it doesn't exist. We do have a mobility program. We have acquisitions. We have people going on short-term projects. We have long-term relocations. We have, expats traveling in and out of various countries, and it's largely unmanaged. In terms of hotels, it would be very much a case of bringing a hotel property, or it would depend on how it goes, because we still get people, You know, particularly in places like the Middle East, for example, where a hotel will be across the road, they'll go over and they'll knock on the door of the local NES office and say, I'll give you a good price at my room, and then you have to get it, or at my hotel, then you have to get it and come back to ATPI through the Hotel Solutions team, and they would manage it all from there. Yeah, in terms of if we're paying a supplier more than once, then there is a due diligence process that we have to go through as well. Yeah.
But he works with a really good TMC, so I'm normally bringing the products to you, aren't I? Saying, look at this.
That's what happens when you've got a good TMC.
Exactly.
So, as we've gone through the day, we do have an awful lot of relocation management professionals in the room. So what advice would you offer them from the travel management perspective on integrating technology into their programs? Or any advice that you would offer them?
There you go. If you're working with a TMC that still says they're reliant on the GDS, do not give up. Just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I think there's a step change coming right now in the TMC space where they've got no choice but to make this change. Yes, they should have done it a long time ago. I'm pleased to say that we were in the camp that did. So this whole step change is a lot easier for us. But just don't give up. Keep on at them, or come and work with a different one.
And yeah, put the customer first. I think that's the big thing. Put your work from the customer back and keep it nice and simple.
Perfect, thank you. And then you already touched upon it, but you said as well, I loved that earlier as well, work from the customer back. Yeah, like Suhaila said, that was perfect. I just want to check with time. Joy, how long have we, because I haven't got the time on my screen. We're good. So Jamie, we briefly touched upon, we know that AI is a hot topic at the moment. So as a travel buyer, are you considering incorporating AI into your travel program? And if so, how do you envision that enhancing your operations?
We are, and we already do to a certain degree. We have a piece of technology called Automate Anywhere, which does various functions with profile handoffs to ATPI at the minute. It really does corrections to files, sort of stuff like that. And it's funny because I was in India a couple of months ago and I was talking about AI and talking about value add with my India team out there. And I think that's the key difference. And I think, Sam, you might have mentioned this as well, is that, value add, at the minute, value add is what human beings can do, and it's what customers are prepared to pay human beings to do, adding value. It's as simple as that. And I think AI at the minute can be used and deployed in the right way for maintenance tasks, essentially, sort of things that the company or the customer expects you to do and doesn't want to pay you for it, basically. Let's put it like that. So yes, I am definitely considering incorporating it, and it would be along those lines now. And I'm encouraging my team to think about where they're adding value and where they're just doing maintenance tasks, and to try and move away from the maintenance tasks or give it to AI tech pieces to do, and start to focus more on adding value as we go forward.
Weren't you you were building a chatbot within Teams, weren't you, as well?
Yes, we're doing that, Jen, yes. Still doing that. It's been a while. I've got other things to do as well, Not just play with chatbots all day. We can't all be as lucky as you just to play with tech all day.
I think from the ATPI side, our phrase is we are leaning into AI with caution. There's so many different translations on what AI is. When I look at some of our processes, I could say that we've been using AI in our business for quite a long time. For any of you that know the GDS logic well, we refer to it as the if and when. If this happens, do this. And we have robots that can collect bookings and do certain things with that booking. But where we are from a TMC perspective is we're using it internally. We resell a lot of our technology. We have proprietary technology, and we resell a lot of technology, especially in the online booking tool space. And when we're working with providers like service departments, accommodation providers, we're reliant actually on, it's their tech, so we're reliant on you to come up with those AI solutions. But just to give you a couple, well, maybe one that springs to mind that we've been working on recently is natural language translation. So we have customers that we deal with globally who have a requirement for, French speaking or not English speaking staff. We now have this in pilot actually over in France, where a customer can email in English. It will get naturally translated, not using Google, using some other clever technology that we have in place. Send that email to the consultant in French. The consultant can reply in French, and the client gets that email back in whatever the languages that they want to see it in. So that's pretty cool.
You need that in China, by the way, because we need to convert the Mandarin itineraries into English for our expats.
Watch this space. I don't think you even knew about that. So there you go. Bit of sneak peek of what's to come.
Well, it wasn't that long ago. I was in an AI session, and then the presenter had recorded videos where through AI was just speaking another language, and it's very impressive where it's going. But to your point, there seems to be such caution around it, and we've ourselves, had so many conversations which differ massively from people saying we want AI right now, integrated, really automating, streamlining lots of processes, and then we've had others that say if you use AI in our program, then onboarding could be 18 months to do the due diligence behind that. So it's really a little bit unknown at the moment, right?
Yeah, and that's such a good point, Jess. And that's one of the challenges I mentioned at the start, is when you're working with any sort of AI provider, or just when we have one of the big pieces of innovation we did last year that Jamie touched on is we integrated a lot of our technology into Microsoft Teams. It was technology that our customers were already using. It wasn't new tech, but because it was going to be hosted on a different platform, it then stalled the whole implementation of it while it went through that IT check again. So, I love it.
That was last year. She's still not got over it.
I
That
think
was
next
me, the
time as a
customer, in
follow-up,
case you
we'll do a
hadn't
therapy session for the IT questionnaires for Teams. Perfect.
I had to do a lot of that with NES.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring it back to the room then to see if there's any questions, thoughts that anyone would like to share. We're all very clear about how to adopt technology within our programs. That's great. So I would love to then really implore everybody in the room to just continue to explore technology innovations, build up relationships with providers. Clearly, you can see there's an incredible relationship here, and when you have that, I think then your program is going to be more successful, right? That will also continue to drive that exceptional traveller experience. So if there aren't any other questions, I will ask you to put your hands together and help me say thank you to Jenny and Jamie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you. Thanks, Jess.